forgotten that there is a savage, awful conflict going on in Ukraine. One of our producers, Minty Gow, nice name that, isn't it?
Minty
Gow, is in the Ukraine. She's gone over there to help people, and she's gone over there for the charity Siobhan Trust, and joins us now. Minty, good evening.
Hi, well, I can tell you that while people back there might have forgotten slightly about it, people definitely here haven't.
No.
I'm currently in the west. I'm based in Lviv, but I've been travelling around the west of Ukraine. And it's very interesting because while we're not necessarily on the front line, you can still definitely feel the repercussions here. A lot of people we've been speaking to have got family members who are wrapped up in the conflict.
And what's it like in the town where is it running normally, or are people staying in their houses?
A bit of both. There's a curfew, so you've got to be back by 12 o'clock. Really, after 11 o'clock, you need to kind of try and be back where you've been. Basically, at night, there's quite often air raids, which I've got to admit to you, I actually slept through on my first night, so I haven't had many of them. But that's something that's quite interesting here, is that I think people think that because, obviously, Ukraine is a very big country. It's the biggest landmass in all of Europe. And so people think if you're in the West, you might not necessarily feel the repercussions. But there are two types of air raids that go off here in the country. The first one is if any sort of missile carrier or plane leaves Russian airspace, then a nationwide alarm is set off everywhere. And then the second alarm will go off if it's going to land, if anything's a drone or a missile is in your local area. Now, if you're coming here and you're hearing one for the first time like I did, it's quite scary because you don't really know which one it is. And locals here do have their way of figuring that out, though. There are social media platforms, Telegram's used a lot, and there are news sites as well. But it is quite weird out here. People are quite calm when the first initial one goes off. Which I definitely wasn't.
They got used to it.
Let me, Minty, let me ask you. I mean, you've gone there with the Siobhan Trust. You're making pizzas and food for local people. It must be pretty depressing when they must see on the news some of the... We've been talking about the Middle East. That seems to be the whole of the main news story at the moment. But innocent people are being killed, both sides, but innocent people are being killed every day in a war situation like that. Are they surprised that the rest of the world in many ways seems to have turned away from the conflict? Because it's, as far as I can see from watching reports, it's just as bad as it was.
Yeah, I think that's definitely accurate, and I think a lot of people would argue it's, from their perspective, worse. It's been going on longer. Yes, to be honest with you, people are surprised. I've had a lot of people come and speak to me saying, why aren't people talking about what's going on here anymore? I feel like we're being forgotten, which is quite hard to hear, really.
Do they feel they're losing the war, or do they feel? How do they feel about the war itself, how it's going?
That's really changed with who we've spoken to. I think a lot of people have got family members involved feeling disheartened just from the fact that they've not seen their family for a while. I think a lot of people are finding it hard to tell, to be honest with you, because as you hear back in the UK, it's quite hard to tell exactly what's going on. Also, exact movements are kept secrets from both sides because obviously you need to be able to keep an element of surprise. So to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure, but the economic side of it is definitely struggling. People are feeling that burden at home. There are power cutouts, air raids are happening a lot, and people aren't necessarily coming home. I met one woman actually on my train over from Poland, and she's got 3 family members who are fighting, and her brother she last saw last September. And a familiar phrase coming up for anyone who's, well, you don't even have had studied history. She says that she hopes he'll be home for Christmas this year. So,
Minty, how do you cope with the grief, though? You must be seeing so many families, as you say, that haven't got their loved ones. I mean, that must be really tough for you.
So actually, someone who's volunteering for the charity that I'm with at the moment said something really interesting today, which I think responds to that quite well. They said that in the East, you are feeding people and you're supporting them. People really need this food. There's a lack of food, and we're also going to soldiers. In the West, it's less of the feeding that's the necessity, but it's the supporting. It's bringing that joy and happiness, and going back to that idea of the West forgetting. It's reminding people that we've not. It's sometimes difficult, I've got to admit, to not get that let down by the stuff that you hear. I've only been here a week, and I've heard some stories that really do kind of take a while for you to keep a smile on your face. But I think it's quite important, and I kind of see it as more of a people have got a pretty tough life going on here, and if you can bring any moment of relief, I think that's more important.
How long are you going to stay there for, Minty? When are you coming back?
So I'm here in the West until later next week, and then I'm actually going to the East. So I'll be there for a little while.
Maybe we can talk...
And then I'll be back just before Christmas.
Maybe we can talk to you next week from the East on the show.
Yeah, I can't promise what signal will be like, but if not, I'll come in to the studio when I'm back. But yeah, hopefully I'll keep you updated.
Why do you never make us pizza when you're in the studio?
Oh, look, you're thinking of your stomach
I'm a
again.
pro. I can make you as much as you want.
Please do. We have to go to the shop, don't we?
Minty, look after yourself. Stay safe.
Minty, you're putting on a very brave face. Thank you for talking to us.
Very good report, that wasn't it?
Stay safe, and we'll talk to you about how things go in the East next time.
Is it
Thank
what
you
an
very much.
amazing girl?
Yeah.
We need more people like Minty.
And putting on a brave face, very brave face.
Very much so.